What?
Here.
Mayor Coots.
I am here. Councilor Lopez in the room. But if someone does chime in and want to join in public comment, we will entertain that during the time coming up after the consent agenda, and limit those comments to 3 minutes. Again, hi, Councilor McKeel is with us.
Yes, sorry, my computer decided this was the time it was going to go very slowly. I do have a letter about the 99 to read.
Okay,
Unless someone else is reading it.
Just a moment, and we'll finish up with our consent calendar. I just wanted to say if there was anybody who did have public comment, let them know how to access it, but we don't see anyone here. So we'll start first with the consent calendar, and that is consists of the minutes of the council meeting of April 20th. I would entertain any corrections or additions to the minutes, or a motion to accept them.
So moved.
Thank you, Councilor Oberst.
Second.
And thank you, Councilor Carey. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Now we will go on to public comments, and typically if we have received something by mail, we'll have Phyllis read that into the record for us. Councilor McKeel, you said you'd received something personally that to be read into the record?
It was the letter that came in the other day. The person explained that she would like that read at the council meeting. It was about 99 and Church Street in Monmouth, and maybe Phyllis got that as well.
Yeah, we all got a copy of that. So, and we've responded already to that. So we treated it as a request to talk that through. Phyllis, did we receive any other public comments?
We did not, Mayor Coots.
Thank you. All right, we will move right into our business agenda. And our first presentation this evening, speaking of our police chief, and I happen to see a former chief as well. So let us celebrate quite an accomplishment by our police department. And Chief Haynes, you're up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Tonight, I'll start by introducing a couple people. Scott, he's the executive director of the Oregon Accreditation Alliance, and I think he'll start today by telling a little bit about just the accreditation process, and he's got a presentation. And before I turn it over to him, also I want to just introduce Sergeant Kim Dorn for those of you that don't know her. She's here and she's our accreditation manager, and she was an integral piece to this process. We couldn't have done it without her. And then recently retired Chief Daryl Talon. This was his vision, I think, since he became the chief. I think he's been on the board 2003 or somewhere around there. Chief, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but for quite a long time. So this has been a long time. We're super excited. And with that, Scott Hayes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members, and both chiefs and Sergeant Dorn. My name is Scott Hayes. I'm the Executive Director of the Oregon Accreditation Association. Today, I'd like to thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight on behalf of our association and for the Monmouth Police Department. As you are well aware, law enforcement right now is experiencing a lot of social change with increased demands and accountability and transparency. In the past, our profession has always addressed these challenges and worked with our communities to address our concerns. Accreditation is one step towards building community trust, legitimacy of our profession to ensure that what we do is in the best interests of our community. The accreditation goals are fairly straightforward. They are to support continued improvement of law enforcement services. They are to establish best practice through professional standards, to establish agency accountability and transparency, and enhance management of operations. When I talk about best practice, we are not only looking at best practice for what is the best in Oregon, but we are looking at best practice nationwide. And we are a part of AccrediNet, which is a larger association of state accrediting bodies across the United States. So we form quite a large network. The Oregon Accreditation Association was formed under the direction of the Oregon Chiefs of Police, the Oregon State Sheriff's Association, the Association of Public Safety Officials, and we provide accreditation services for 67 law enforcement agencies and communication centers in the state of Oregon. So we're a fairly large organization. Tonight, we would like to recognize myself and the board of directors, the accomplishments of the Monmouth Police Department, who have achieved their first award of accreditation under the leadership of Chief Talon. I'd also like to recognize not only the efforts of Chief Talon, but also Sergeant Dorn, who worked with us very diligently to be able to fulfill all of the requirements of the Oregon Accreditation Association. And basically there's 105 standards that have to be met. And along with those standards, there are a number of bullets which have to be met to ensure not only that there is policy for each and every one, but also that the agency provides proof of compliance, that in fact they do exactly what we are asking them to do. Accreditation is something that it's not just put on the shelf. In fact, every 3 years we come back and we do a reassessment of the agency to ensure compliance with our standards and any new standards that we determine is necessary on national and local, state, and federal laws. Chief Talon, I would also like to note, is and has been a long-standing board member of the Oregon Accreditation Association. And so we greatly appreciate the work that he has done in providing the board, which is a 20-member board of chiefs of police, sheriffs, and communication professionals over his career. And a lot of credit goes to Sergeant Dorn, who was the person behind the scenes doing a lot of the work, I think. So I'm sure the chief had something to say about this too. So on behalf of the Oregon Accreditation Association and the board of directors, we do recognize the efforts of the Monmouth Police Department to open their agency up to an outside agency and scrutinize them. So with that said, unfortunately, I cannot be there in person, and I cannot show you the presentation plaque which they have. Perhaps, yeah, Haynes has it, and he is displaying it now. And there will be many more to come. So I appreciate all of the agency's efforts and that of your community to allow us in to thank you. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them. Lots of clapping. Good, good, good.
Yeah, I know this has been a long-standing dream, Daryl. Congratulations. Do you have anything you'd like to say about this, Chief Talon?
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
Good. Yes, I'd like to just say how proud I am of the Monmouth Police Department. As was said earlier, from many years ago when I began my position as a chief of police, and we worked as a team. Everybody in our department worked very diligently toward receiving this award of accreditation. Took us probably a lot longer than normal, but we had it and we worked at it, and it was a goal of ours, and we finally achieved that goal. And it's kind of the cherry on top for my career that I had it as a goal, and we were able to meet that goal. And many thanks to everybody involved. But big thanks to Sergeant Kim Dorn for working so hard, especially over the last few months, for meeting this goal and achieving accreditation. It's a big deal. We're proud of the agency.
Sergeant Dorn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members. Thank you, Chief. Hi, it's good to see you again, Chief Talon. Yeah, I just want to reiterate that we're very proud to have achieved this. It took a lot of effort to prepare for the computer side, looking at all of our proofs, and then the on-site that we had. But really, I have to say that our agency was already following the standards. We already had the policies in place, the touch-up. It was just us proving to OAA that we met these standards, that we would continue to meet them. And that's because our officers do such a great job, and we have great leadership, and we were already, like I said, it was asked of us to be proved to them. So yeah, I was a little to show them that proof, but we were already doing what we need to be doing. So I'm very proud of all of our staff and all of our officers, and of course of Chief Talon and Chief Haynes and all of our leadership as well, that we've accomplished this.
Excellent. Any questions or comments? Councilor Oberst.
I just want to congratulate Chief Talon. I know during my time in the middle seat, Madam Mayor, he mentioned more than once trying to get this accreditation, and I know the lift that this was. And I congratulate him on what a nice way to slide out the door and into retirement to achieve that long-term goal, and just, great job. Mr. Hayes, I'm curious how many cities our size have achieved accreditation. Is this unusual for a 10,000 city to, or?
I don't have the exact facts and figures. What I would tell you is of the 67 agencies that are either accredited or in accreditation, their initial accreditation process to become accredited, a majority of them are small agencies. We do have Salem and agencies, but I would say that the smallest is 3-person, which is Carlton PD, with a chief, a sergeant, and an officer. And I believe Salem would be our largest. So as a rule, a majority of law enforcement agencies in the state of Oregon are small, generally with about 10 to 12 officers. There's not really those big agencies out there. They're there, but a majority of the state is run by smaller agencies. But I don't have the exact facts and figures. The one, I will also point out one thing. Monmouth Police Department is above the curve. There's currently a Senate or a House bill that's working its way through to the Senate right now that's going to require all agencies with 35 members or more to become accredited and mandated in the next 3 years. And if you really look at those numbers, there's only about 12 agencies that are not with OAA that will become members. So again, not many that have a lot of officers. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, no, it does. Thanks.
It's kind of a roundabout.
Right. And again, Chief, congratulations. Good job.
All right, and Councilor Carey.
It's a quick turnaround, but it's a good reminder. Loud and proud.
Absolutely, Councilor Carey. That's something that after this presentation tonight was going to be on the list of to-dos, is to get something out there for the public to share that with them. So thank you for that.
All right, thank you very much for joining us this evening, Mr. Hayes, and thank you, Daryl. Good to see you, and thank you, Sergeant Dorn and Chief Haynes, for being here so we could recognize and celebrate the hard work, and look forward to how we maintain that and continue to be a shining in the organization and represent ARC well. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor.
All right, we have one other piece of business this evening, and that is really discussing the climate resolution. Drafts of this have been before us, and we've met with a local community task force. They have continued to work and refine sort of what they are hoping both Monmouth and Independence can do at the local level. And I want to thank our city manager, Marty Wine. She was able to take a couple drafts of this and come up with what I think is a really good option for us to consider coming out as a statement about how we do want to back up our value regarding sustainability, and particularly with contributions to deal with climate crisis. So Marty, do you want to introduce us a little bit? And we actually do have it drafted as a resolution. If folks are comfortable with the language, hopefully we can move that forward this evening.
Thanks. Madam Mayor, you've just given my staff report.
I'm so good.
I actually don't have much to add beyond what the mayor has said by way of introduction. You have before you a draft resolution recognizing the global climate crisis. This has come about because the council has been asked to consider a resolution by the Community Climate Task Force. And also you've had these discussions about sustainability related to your values most recently. So I really don't have that much to add, except I would be interested in hearing discussion from the council and take any input or amendments that the council would be looking for so that the resolution can reflect what you want it to say and set a path for us as we embark on a climate action plan effort later in the year and continue to work with the community task force, the climate action task force.
Yes, Councillor McKeel.
You know, I read this twice. I think this looks really good. I'm ready to do a motion if that is, unless that's too soon.
Councilor Oberst.
The only change I would make is section 4, where it says magnitude and effects of global warming, because this is really climate change. It's not necessarily warming, it's shift in climate. Warming some places, cooling others, changes in rainfall, on and on. And that's the only criticism I have of a marvelous piece of work, Manager Wine. Well written, well done. Appreciate the effort you put into this. That's just one of those ones that it was held up for a long time as global warming, and need to cover a broader range of bases on that one.
Yep, good catch. Others? Yes. Councilor Carey, then Councilor McKeel, and then Councilor Lopez.
I have a couple questions. One, well, and I guess an edit, and I would also go to section 4. And one of the things that we don't really, we don't get much on the specifics, and I know this is an overarching deal, but one of the things that, and we can really make an impact, I believe, locally with a town our size, especially paired with Independence, in reducing those factors that add to or contribute to the magnitude and effects of climate change. You know, in the initial draft, it was talked about, well, we're going to reverse that. You know, I'm becoming a little more aware of the magnitude of this. We won't make a dent. The city of Monmouth won't make a dent. However, there are a number of things that we can do to reduce the magnitude of it. So the only thing that I would suggest is that somewhere here, and it might fit in section 4, educate ourselves about steps that are needed to limit those factors that contribute to the magnitude and effects of climate change. Those will be, while not spelled out here, those will be actionable items. When we get something back from our task force, we want something actionable. You know, I mean, don't say we're gonna make sure we don't fall below 1.2 degrees centigrade, because Monmouth will not have an impact on that. But there's a lot of things, if we believe the idea of thinking globally and acting locally, that would give us some good attraction with our members of our community. Now, then, so that's a friendly amendment, I hope. And then what I'm a little, it doesn't really spell out where we're going with and how the joint group will be, which I think is a good idea, by the way, a joint group with Independence. And what would become then of the Community Climate Task Force? I guess, and that's only partly rhetorical, because I don't know that we want to just carte blanche accept what's, you know, what was formed by volunteerism and interest. So I guess those are questions, logistical questions, that are easy to solve, and good, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, thanks, Don. And I think in speaking with the task force and in talking with Mayor McArdle and City Manager Tom Pessemer, this resolution, as you say, it's not the operating document. So then we work together to find a charter for the task force or committee that really lays out what we expect from them, what their makeup is and all of that. So there would be a lot of work after that. This is the resolution to have that group work on our behalf. So more work to come, absolutely. Councilor McKeel and then Councilor Lopez.
Yeah, respectfully, Councilor Oberst, I think section 4 is okay with global warming. I don't know if you saw the article in the New York Times that had a year elapsed map of the United States temperatures getting actually pretty frighteningly high. And I think with global warming, because of that, I think it's good to call attention to global warming. And then the next part, the climate change is still in that section, so that they're both there. So I think there is the evidence of the globe heating up. And in fact, I think there was an article just today in the Times about, it's now a crisis of doing that.
Mm.
And I think also, again, respectfully, Councilor Carey, I think there is a lot the city can do. Mr. Thurman actually sent out a webinar notice from Portland State University on landscape experiences that was put on by Dr. Vivek Shandes. And he showed how the temperature in the city can be decreased by the number of trees that are planted. And now this was in Portland and obviously not in Monmouth, but he showed how in Portland, the number of trees in a neighborhood had to do with followed lines of socioeconomic and redlining. And so it really made me think about, we should be taking a look at our Monmouth neighborhoods to see, is there something that we should be doing with that? Because we can, according to Dr. Shandes's work, decrease the temperature in Monmouth by at least a degree, but I think he was saying a couple degrees. I was so excited about this. I said, I think the council needs to watch this webinar. It was really, and it's really short. It's not like 2 hours. So it was very, very informative.
Okay, I'm guessing that must have been sent to the tree board, and I'm sure they will become great advocates for reviewing that. So
I'm sorry for that lack of clarity from the tree board, and it was really good webinar. Yes.
Great, thanks. Councilor Lopez.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I was going to actually touch on a number of the points that Councilor was on as well.
We can't hear you well, Chris.
Oh, you can't see?
We can, but you're very muffled.
You're underwater, Chris. It sounds like
all right. How about that? I just changed some settings.
Much better. Thank you.
Terribly sorry about that. I'll just reiterate that I was actually going to a number of those final points that Councilor McKeel did. I really appreciate that outlook. I would like to stress one thing that, global warming is defined as one aspect of climate change. But when we're talking about global warming, it's talking about a net increase of temperature throughout the globe. So yes, some areas will be colder, some will be warmer. But global warming is one of the kind of key and most concerning tenets of, climate change as a whole. And I think it's powerful to call it out directly. I too had some questions about lack of specificity in this that Councilor Carey mentioned. I'll look forward to crafting a document that's a little bit more specific and also really marries our two cities and our action plans together. And then I would like to also just reiterate one more time, as Councilor McKeel said, there's a lot that we can do. Climate change is what's considered both a point source and a non-point source issue, right? So there are things like coal burning power, that's the point two. And that's the point source part of it. But then there's all the non-point source parts of it. How we live our lives, how we operate our city, how we maintain our roads, how we make infrastructure decisions based on, on active transportation versus fossil fuel transportation. All of these things have a net impact that grows and builds and carries over years. And I think what this document is, is leading us down the path of making those decisions with this in mind. So I'm looking forward to starting to not just talk about this, but starting to live this as a city.
Thank you. And yes, I'm going to ask Councillor Belts and Salinas Oliveros and Councillor Carey to weigh in either for or against the biology teacher's recommendation about getting rid of the global warming statement. So Roxanne, can you speak to that, plus whatever else you would like to comment on?
First, I would love to say that I know enough about the term global warming to make a decision. I really can't, and I have to, I have to leave it to the experts, because I would have had to have looked that word up to make sure of that phrase, to make sure I know I was saying one way or the other. So I am fine whatever the others decide. Sorry, I can't be more definitive. What I was going to say was that just this morning, my organization Chariots actually met with the cities of Monmouth and Independence. We talk about actionable items. The discussion is about a project that's going to study improvements on bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure on Highway 99. That is an incredibly actionable project. Get people out of their vehicles, but we need to make it safe and have people feel comfortable using that. The idea is building connections between the two cities on bikeways and pathways. So it's a very exciting project. I didn't know a lot about it. My colleagues sent me this information. So I'm assuming that's going to be tied into the work that's going to be done going forward, this project, along with any climate action activities that we take. So sorry, I can't help on the first one, but there's my thoughts on the second.
That's okay. I'm just trying to get a temperature. And Rebecca.
Yes, I am. I think global warming needs to stay in the statement. Everything that we do, live, action, contributes to global warming, whether we physically see it or not. And I think, and this is what's causing so much of our grief on this earth, with the temperatures, with the drying up of our rivers, and I think locally, yes, we can take more action, and I am looking forward to the specifics. I like what Councillor Belts was saying, what Councillor Carey was saying, and Councillor Lopez. I really am looking forward to those specifics. And yes, I would vote for global warming to stay in the resolution.
All right, John Kerry, something to add to
Yeah.
that?
I'm sort of agnostic on that. I don't really have a sense one way or the other. However, if you read the sentence, and if you look at the head of the document, educate our residents about steps that are needed to limit the magnitude of effects of global warming, and keeping the concerns of vulnerable communities central to all climate change mitigation planning. We're sort of mixing terms there, but again, it's certainly a key part of it. I'm sort of agnostic on that. And let me just real quick, see, when I say that we're not going to make an impact, we're not going to make an impact globally. We can make an impact locally. We have, the average is 51 billion tons of greenhouse gases annually that go into the atmosphere, and we need to get to zero. But we can do a lot of things locally that will be helpful locally. So I just think we need to be realistic about the global piece. I'm all on side. It's just, we got to understand the magnitude we're dealing with.
Thank you. And Councillor Oberst, I think Marty and I agree about that change to create two sections in section 4, that probably the education piece and then talking about our vulnerable communities piece are really two different things. So I think we like that change here in the room. Councillor Oberst.
So I'm going to leave the biology teacher hat off and turn to member of ODOT's Climate Change Task Force for a couple of years. And the term of art continues to be climate change, which came into being because people said global warming, and people who were opposed to the whole idea would show up with snowballs at meetings and say, yeah, global warming, right? And so the term global warming went away to some extent as a way to rebut that and to say this is about more than warming in some places. It's about changing climate. Overall, the world's warming, but it may result in a really bad winter, as the folks back east can tell you from this year. As Texas can tell you from their experiences this winter. And so yes, overall the planet is warming. The result of that is that the climate has shifted in a number of places and changed both warmer and colder in a given location. So you know, I will leave it at that and just say, you know, it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think the document is strong in the way it's worded. Term of art is climate change, as far as I know, still.
Yes, Councilor McKeel, one more comment, and then I think we'll give direction to get this Go ahead, Councilor McKeel.
No, I just wanted equal time as a former second grade teacher. That's all. That's all.
Good,
All
Councilor McKeel. Good on you.
Yeah, I think we call out carbon footprint in a couple places. We talk about some other specifics. So if it's okay, Councilor Oberst will leave global warming in this one spot, and everything else will refer to climate change. So it's a resolution. It's not a working document.
I love this city council. You guys are just great. I just, you know, it's only been a couple of months. I have yet to see some of you in person, and this is a really enjoyable group. Thank you.
All right.
Would you like me to summarize the changes?
Please, ma'am.
Okay, so what I think I heard the council discuss was in section 4 that rather than speaking of limiting the magnitude and effects, that we would amend that phrase to say reduce factors that contribute to the magnitude and effects of global warming. And then the phrase that ends after the word, or that begins after the word global warming, will become its own section that references keeping the concerns of vulnerable communities central. And then the next sections 5, 6, and 7 would be renumbered accordingly. I think that's what I heard that would be the suggested amendments.
I'm seeing many thumbs. Yes, you heard right. So that will come back to us. I need to work with City Manager Pessimer to make sure that we've got a process to bring back to all of us as to how to constitute that committee and what their authorities might be. Sort of an unusual arrangement to have a joint task force committee, so they'll be working through that. We have a couple of quick things for our reports this evening. My mayor's report is extremely brief. One is a celebration and recognition. The Central School District started on Monday, March 16th, 2020, providing grab and go meals for any students in our community. They continued to provide those meals thanks to changes in guidance and regulations at the federal level. They were able to provide 3 meals a day to any youth ages 1 to 18 in the community, whether they were students in the Central School District or not. They did that on a daily basis. Families have been able to order ahead and pick up meals for a weekly basis. And on Thursday, May 14th, the Central School District surpassed 500,000 meals for children in our community during this time. So pretty proud of them. They happened to work with me and I'm extremely proud of them, but really an amazing accomplishment in our community to be able to make sure that children have had access to food during this time. So quite an accomplishment. And quite a goal we have before us. As I think we've all heard by now, the guidance regarding how we will start moving more comfortably or freely throughout our daily lives. There's some light at the end of the tunnel. And the governor has given us a great goal. And that is with regards to access, availability, and really getting folks to take advantage of COVID-19 vaccines. The Polk County is right now, as of today, at 58.3% of all residents over the age of 16 have received a vaccine. Our goal is 65%. At 65%, Polk County moves to the low risk category. That removes many of the size restrictions in our places of business. It removes the risk, right? It increases the chances that the folks we are with in our daily lives taking potential risks such as eating, drinking, being in places without masks is greatly reduced if we can reach that 65% level of vaccines. Our neighbors to the south have done it. Benton County is over 65% of their population ages 16 and older have received the COVID vaccine. Their restrictions have been lifted. Hood River County is another. I think Lincoln County is there. And a couple others are really close. I think Washington County might be there. So we're close. We're at 58%. We're in the top 10, Polk County. So we can do this. Salem Health is continuing their mass vaccination clinics at Western Oregon University. They are available to all ages 16 and up because they do have the Pfizer vaccine. Actually, it's now 12 and up. As of last week, ages 12 and up can get that Pfizer vaccine at Western Oregon University. And every shot that we can get in arms helps us reduce the risk to our vulnerable populations and to the rest of us. So can't wait to see us work together to meet this goal, to get this thing done. And I want to also point out Salem Health is starting to do a lot of other mobile clinics. They have organized a third clinic at St. Patrick's Church. They have reached out to migrant farm camps already, and they will be holding a clinic that I'll be announcing in a central school district school. So we're going to get an opportunity to get a lot more folks on nights and weekends who can get opportunities to make things safer for themselves, their families, and the rest of our community. So go Polk County, let's do this. I also have one appointment tonight. We received the gracious resignation of Steve Milligan, who has served on the MyNet board since the time that he was appointed as a fill-in when city manager Scott McClure left. And we feel that things are in a position now that we can return to what is sort of a more traditional representation, and that is to have our city manager on the board. So I would entertain a motion to appoint Marty Wine as the city representative to the MyNet board.
I would like to move to appoint Marty Wine as the city representative to the MyNet board.
I second that.
All right. Thank you, Councilor Lopez and Councilor Belts. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And any opposed? All right. Thank you very much. You're official.
Thank you.
Thank you. We also have a representative on the MyNet Finance Committee, and we did have a resignation there. So if you know of anyone who would be a really good representative and voice on the MyNet Finance Committee, let us know about that as well. It's a little bit less formal process, but we want to get somebody good in there. All right, other reports of boards and commissions. Councilor Belts.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I attended the library board Wednesday, the 12th, 7 a.m. It's a very early board meeting, but everybody's there chipper. We even bring our own donuts to our virtual meeting. Just a couple updates from the librarian. Curbside pickups for hold process has changed. It's now available Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., same time that the phones are on. Patrons drive up to the front of the library and call when they get to the library. Then staff finds their items, checks them out, and then delivers them to the patron curbside. They have a water bottle filling station to replace the drinking fountain. It's now on back order. But when it is installed, it will certainly be a welcome addition to the library when the library becomes fully open again. And then they have those Wi-Fi hotspots I mentioned. It's actually a physical item that you take with you, you check out, and it's a Wi-Fi hotspot. They are being circulated. Those were provided by Chemeketa Community College and Chemeketa Cooperative Regional Library Service by a grant. Our library has 10 of them, and they seem to be very popular. So that's my report. Thank you.
Great. And Councilor Salinas Oliveros.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The Historic Commission, we met on May 5th, and it is Historic Preservation Month. We have a historic scavenger hunt activity that you can download off the website, and I encourage you to do that. The interpretive displays have been placed inside the windows of Old Monmouth Harbor Building located on 215 Main Street East, and they are exquisite. They are very well done. We also met to finalize the artist proposals for the Ross Mural project, and we plan to celebrate the 60th anniversary of the 1962 Columbus Day storm. And thank you to Councilor Carey for that recommendation. We are looking at partnering with the Senior Center, and we're also collecting any photos, anything from from the Columbus Day storm. If anybody has any, we're all excited on the commission to look at those pictures, and possibly even having interviewing some of our residents about what they remember about the Columbus Day storm. So some great things to come, and I encourage you to complete the scavenger hunt. It's fun, and to spread the word. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Great idea. Councillor Carey, then Councillor Oberst.
Just a brief follow-up on the Columbus Day deal. I have, many of us know Betty Plude, who is a former resident, and you might recall that she wrote a compilation, brought together all kinds of stories about the Columbus Day storm. I've secured a copy of that that will be, you know, at the, it will become part of the city's property, and it'd be a good reference point for that. It might be some ideas on who perhaps to be interviewed and so on. But my report, Madam Mayor, members of the council, is relative to the Planning Commission. Planning Commission met on May 5 and held a public hearing for the addition of the Riddle Road Apartments, what we're calling the Riddle Road Apartments, just north of, I've forgotten the name of the street, just north of a Gentle House on the west side, and 8-lot subdivision that will be primarily multi-family dwellings. So by the time it's done, up to as many as 80 units. So that was good and was pretty much without controversy. They've got a good plan, and I'm not exactly sure when they'll tip it off, but sometime soon. Anyway, that concludes my report.
Yes, and Councillor Oberst.
Parks and Rec met on the 12th at 6 p.m. A little piece of old business was, as you may remember, they awarded grants a couple of months ago. Those grants went to outdoor exercise classes, an outdoor camp, a movie in the park, a bike ride related to the Great Oregon Shakeout, and skate park activity. And then it was noted by the city that, gee whiz, you really ought to have liability insurance for these activities. And so folks started scrambling to look for insurance, and 3 of those activities have gotten their insurance squared away or have it on the front burner, you know, getting it there. The bike ride person is a senior at Western, and the activity won't be till fall. And so I think she's kind of, you know, waffling just a little bit. We'll find out. We'll get an update later on that. The skate camp is going to be the tough nut because I think there's a sense of inherent risk in skateboarding that insurers might not be real interested in covering. So we're trying to work with the folks that are proposing that skate camp, see if we can figure out a way to help get them insurance. On the new business, the skate park should have a future home of sign in the works sometime soon to try to help with fundraising and just to make people aware that this project is out there. They have signed a contract with the design firm, and they're hoping 4 to 6 weeks to have a 60% drawing done, which would then give the opportunity to start looking for in-kind matches for materials. They've already got the rebar promised, but you know, get an idea from our local concrete batch plant if they'd be willing to contribute some or all of the concrete, form work, et cetera, et cetera. So that's going to be a big piece when they get that done. They're starting to look for partners. When they go to seek grants, it's going to be important that they have some partners on board who have committed to support as they seek bigger grants. So that is at the beginning of that process. And the big grant that they really want to go for is a state parks grant. The next opportunity is going to be in 2022. It's a 40% match grant. So they're going to need to come up with some funding in order to get that match. The other piece of new business, as you may recall, and Councilor Belts, the bike rack is ready to install. They took the old high wheel bike rack from in front of the old bike shop, sent it in, had it stripped and repowder coated. Instead of red, it is now blue, and I mean really blue. It's beautiful, and that's going in the Cherry Lane Park when it's installed. And Russ gave a little bit of a report on budget. And then I mentioned before, there were two, we now have CYS and another group playing youth baseball. They have come to accommodation with each other on field sharing for practices, et cetera. And we have some folks who want to work out an educational display for Gentle Woods Park, particularly after the damage from the ice storm. One of the ideas was some tree rounds, which there's a little concern that those will all wind up in the creek. So maybe we better come up with something a little more permanent than just displaying tree rounds. Have to hear how that one works out in the long run. The next meeting of that group is on June 9th at 6 p.m. I also attended the skate park committee, and you've heard most of what is up there. They are starting to work on project milestones and upset chart, really trying to lay out a process going forward for how all this is going to work out. They did get a donation of $2,500 from someone in Independence, name not given, and this was a gift in memory of someone else or in honor of someone else. They're up to over $7,000 now, and I think in cash money and in kind on top of that. And then they were offered a barn full of cans. And it turns out that there was somebody, and they have to move in the next couple of weeks. And so this is a scramble, but Bryce Bridbury was describing 4 or 5 pickup truck load beds full of cans to get out of the barn and return. And in the days of a nickel a piece, that's not considerable, but at a dime a piece, holy mackerel, that could be a nice chunk of change for that group. So we'll hope that they can get those out of the barn and into the redemption center and turn into cash towards the skate park. And I do not have the next meeting of that group. Bryce has taken full-time work, so it's moved from a daytime meeting to an evening meeting, and it's still a little bit of a feast. We'll get it figured out going forward. So thank you all for your attention on those things. I'm really excited about what the skate park's doing, and it's an organic, from the ground up, citizen-driven effort, and it's cool. They're doing good stuff.
Great. Thank you. And Councilor Lopez.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, members of the council, I have 3 reports to make here. It's been a busy few weeks. My first report I will issue in the form of an apology. It is the Arts and Culture Commission, and they met last night. I, however, did not make that meeting because I still had the old time in my calendar. The meeting has moved from Thursdays to the 3rd Monday of each month at 7 p.m. So please mark it on your calendars. Love to have anyone that's interested in the Arts and Culture Commission attend in the future, and I will see you there. My next report that I have is from MyNet. And much like the city, the MyNet has been going through its budgeting process, which is every bit as fun as the city's budgeting process. The MyNet Budget Committee met at our last meeting, and passed the committee passed the budget to be referred to the full board of directors. Similar to the way that our budget committee refers the budget to the city council. So we are in that kind of stage of the process. I'd like to call out a couple high-level metrics that really came to light during this. And I feel very strongly that MyNet's real utility is not as a fiscal investment, but as an investment in our community. And so I normally focus on that, but I would like to share with you that MyNet has, and I'm going to read this off of a page here, that MyNet has come a long way in a not very long time. So this year, our current tracking to budget, we are 5% or tracking on 5% revenue better to budget, and 5% operating expense better to budget. So revenue's higher, expenses lower, creating an improvement to budget of our net operating income of 10%. And so that means that in the current fiscal year that we're about to wrap up, we overperformed our budget for a net gain of 10%. Now that's the current year that we're wrapping up. Let's look a little further back, and in fiscal year 2012 to 2013, MyNet posted a negative operating income of $215,000. So they lost a lot, and this is above and beyond, you know, any not making any of the loan contributions, etc. It was in real dire straits. Now, at the end of this fiscal year, we are scheduled to have an operating income of $1,850,000. And covering the vast majority of the bond contribution, taking that load off of the city's back. And it's really in terms of, you know, whether you measure it on a business time frame or on a local government time frame, those kind of gains in that relatively short period of time, in less than a decade, are really incredible. So with that in mind, I'll also share with a slightly heavy heart, but also an air of congratulations to our General Manager, Don Patton. He has noticed his intent to retire at the end of the year. We do not have a firm time frame, but the goal is, as stated by Mr. Patton, is fall, certainly out by the end of the calendar year. He has offered to stay on in an advisory role as needed, and so we certainly have our work cut out for us in the future as we make this transition. Don Patton has been it's really impossible to state how much of an asset and how much of a visionary and how much value he's given to our community, and as a leader in MyNet. He's really crafted it into what it is today. In happier news, I will say that we have a very stable and really excellent set of directors within MyNet. And so there's a wonderful team that he's leaving behind to carry the torch. Outside of MyNet, I'll transition to the Mid-Willamette Valley Homeless Alliance, and in that entity as well, we are dealing with our budget process. We're a little bit ahead of the timeline, and so. With the Homeless Alliance, the budget has been officially adopted. So we're finally through that. I won't bore you with the details of the budget. The budget is a relatively small one, totaling in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. But what I would like to do is take a moment to recount to you our key strategies as written in our strategic plan. And our next steps as a board will be to revisit the strategic plan and make sure that it's still serving the purpose that it originally was intended to. So strategy 1, engage stakeholders. Engage a full array of stakeholders to build an effective and competitive continuum of care. 2, prioritize chronically homeless and youth. advocate and prioritize services for chronically homeless and youth while supporting a range of unique populations. 3, address equity. Address racial, ethnic equity throughout the homeless services system. 4, expand community awareness. Expand community awareness of homelessness issues and ways agencies, groups, and individuals can get involved. 5, make informed decisions. Use proven approaches, the voices of lived experience, and analysis of local data to make informed decisions. 6, expand capacity. Build on existing services and expand the capacity of shelters, traditional housing, permanent housing, in efforts to prevent first-time and recurring homelessness. And finally, leverage resources. Leverage diverse local, state, federal resources in support of a coordinated homeless services system. Now, we had a very high-level discussion about these key strategies, and I'll be happy to share with you that there was a great conversation about what we're doing well and also where we have room to improve and where there's opportunity to better serve the communities at need. And one of the areas that was called out very loud and clear was the need for coordination and services within rural parts of Polk and Marion County, specifically and including Monmouth, Independence, Falls City, etc. So if you have any ideas about these things, I'd welcome them. This is a tough nut to crack, and it's certainly not one that has a clear road. But there's a lot of great hearts and great minds working on it together for the betterment of our community and those that are at need in our community. And with that, I'll conclude my reports.
Great, thank you very much. Yeah, I appreciate the work the Homeless Alliance is doing, and I know there has been a little bit of a movement to really kind of focus on those rural issues as separate from, since we are Marion Polk County, a little bit easier to really focus on our visible problems in Salem, and appreciate the group's work on that, Chris. So thanks for representing us there. All right. If there are no other board and commission reports, I will turn over to Marty to get her city manager's report, and then any final comments or announcements.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. I have only one item to report because the mayor did such an effective job of cheerleading for the vaccination rate that we're trying to achieve here in Polk County. So the only other item that I would report tonight is a happy one. I'm very pleased to report that Monmouth has been awarded the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the fiscal year 2021 budget. And you'll recall, yay, yes, the award's given by the Government Finance Officers Association, and it's through an examination of our budget done by a panel of independent reviewers. So in order to get this award, there are 4 criteria that the budget document needs to meet, including being a policy document, a financial plan, an operations guide, and a communications device. And we received strong marks in all the categories for our published budget. So I just wanted to give credit and thanks and congratulations to everybody who keeps improving the budget that we produce every year. So it's good news. That's all I've got.
Yeah, that is great. Congratulations to Janet and her team, because I commented myself. I think that document has come a long way towards really explaining and telling our story. So excellent. Glad that it's recognized by the experts. All right. Any council comments or announcements before we wrap up this evening?
I don't think we can leave because I won't know what to do if we don't wait until 9 o'clock or something.
8 o'clock.
Yeah, we have something to do right at 8. Yes, Councilor Belt.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody for sort of filling in and pitching for me while I was gone in Indiana. You know that I was very, very distracted with that perfect little granddaughter of mine. So thank you, everybody. I know I was really disconnected, and I helped with the budget when I could, but I really appreciate, and I missed a meeting as well. So thank you everybody for filling in and then sending me, thank you Phyllis for sending me the information so that I knew what was going on. So thank you, I appreciate it, everyone.
All right.
Councilor Carey.
Yes, Councilor Carey.
Sorry.
I have just a couple of quick ones. One, I think one of the reasons that we got recognized and one of the reasons that our budget was so better this year is we made a concerted effort to tie our goals and objectives to the budget and the budget to our goals and objectives and values and all of that. We've given lip service to that in the past. This is the first time we've really operationalized things, and to me, that's a huge step forward. Just this is a question, and as we did the appointment of Marty to the MyNet board, it reminded me, and perhaps I'm wrong, but were we going to come back and revisit, or at least get the details of the enhanced selection process that we've been using for our budget committee members and planning commission members? It seems to me like we sort of fast-tracked that because we had some vacancies we needed to move. And my recollection is we were going to come back to that. It seems to be working fine, but it might be that we could see exactly what that is. So if my recollection is correct, perhaps that could be a work session topic. We'd all be remiss if we didn't thank John Overs for the work that he's done on this hopefully successful bond and his continual acknowledgement of the rock star, which is Carol McKeel on the door-to-door. She's been awesome at that, I'm sure. So there'll probably be more of that, but good on you, John. And then the substantive one in particular, Gene Caligiuri had a real significant concern about that Highway 99 and Church Street. And I would like to see us be a little more aggressive on that. I saw Russ's response. It's a good one. That might be 6-8 months. It's one of those, well, we're going to study it type of a thing. And I think that Chief Haynes's response was excellent as well. But the problem really is with ODOT. That is a poorly designed intersection. My wife has said exactly the same thing that Gene Caligiuri has said. And we have seen the same near misses that Gene Caligiuri has seen. And so I think we need to push aggressively onto ODOT and not apologize that they're a great big institution. It's our town, and it's a dangerous situation. And until we get our more comprehensive view, which I think we need to have, we need to really push them for some, hash marks through that. Because right now it looks all the world like the turn lane on the other side of the intersection. So it's no wonder school buses and others pull into that that zone, double yellow line. I think we need to push them hard, ODOT hard, to get out there and restripe that. Kim was and my wife was in contact with the project manager. He said, well, it's rainy and it's wet, and that's a good idea. Maybe when it gets dries out, we'll get back to it. It's dry. Let's push them on the thing. Because Gene is right, and I've seen it in my neighborhood. John, you have too. So anyway, enough of that. I'm going to be a bulldog on that deal. We'll talk about it routinely until we can get something done.
Yeah, thanks. As we've talked. You're right. And so the fact that ODOT kind of requires these studies and instead of action is pretty frustrating. Hopefully this will be the year we'll get some answers. Councilor Oberst, something to wrap up?
I just want to wrap around on John's comments about that intersection. When ODOT had originally planned to just blow resurfacing through town, and I called the area manager at that time, Tim Potter, and said, you got some problems in Monmouth that need to be addressed before you just put down asphalt. And the result of that was the complete reconstruction. And I pushed on him at that time for both a right turn lane coming out of Church Street, you know, a right and a left. Well, that's going to require access work, and a left turn lane for southbound on 99. And well, we're already over budget. And so, you know, I think we need to go back to him and say, this design was deficient, and you need to go ahead and put that turn lane in there or something, either a turn lane or make it very clear that it's not a turn lane, because you know, if I'm going to be sitting there at that intersection waiting to turn into Church Street and I see a semi coming behind me, I'm going to be more likely to pull into that little triangle to get out of his way than I am to block the lane and hope he sees me. And so that is an attractive nuisance, you know, as far as I'm concerned. That little triangle just pulls people into it, asking to turn left on Church Street. Going back to John's other comment, when I took the city of Monmouth and carved it up into walkable pieces for this ballot measure campaign, I came up with a total of about 30 pieces. And Councilor McKeel walked and rang doorbells and knocked and hung tags in 10 of those 30 by my count, which is absolutely astounding. I had some people do 1. I had some people do 2. I had a couple of people do 3. Carol did 10. I'm just astounded, Councilor McKeel. Your energy is you know, I don't know what to say. So we're like 10 minutes away from finding out, and we'll just hope that the truth that we told overcomes the distortions that were put out by folks who are opposed to it, and hope we get this thing passed.
I just want to respond that I want to get out of dishes. That's all. That's
Good one.
Councilor Lopez, final comments.
Yes, thank you. I have a correction to issue. Calendar craziness. The Arts and Culture Commission will be meeting this Thursday at 7. So I hope to see you there. Additionally, I would like to call call all of your attention to more recent discussions. Thank you for bringing this up. About a year ago, there were recent discussions about placing a Z crossing and a pedestrian haven right in that space at Church Street. So these are there are also much more recent discussions that have had both in these chambers as well as with ODOT. I think the point is that this crossing and this lane